Now, Fox News is pretty much Trump state media, and they are in damage control over the administration's human rights debacle that happened on the border. Now, on Sunday, Border Patrol agents fired tear gas on migrants seeking asylum after a small splinter group attempted to enter the country illegally. Now, that tear gas ended up hitting peaceful migrants who were not trying to enter the country, who were trying to get their asylum claims processed, which is legal, 100% legal. You know what isn't legal? Firing tear gas on people who are not committing any crime. That makes you the criminal. Now, the Trump administration, of course, is now attempting to defend itself after receiving massive criticism for this illegal act. So here's Fox News bringing on people to try to minimize the impact of the gas. Now, this is Ron Coburn, who's president of the Border Patrol Foundation, and he's going to talk to Steve Doocy of Fox and Friends. Let's take a look.
There was a small hole they were able to puncture through the border wall, and they hurled all sorts of rocks, etc., at the Border Patrol agents, and then they fired the tear gas. Is that warranted?
Absolutely. And to clarify, the type of deterrent being used is OC pepper spray. It's literally water, pepper, with a small amount of alcohol for evaporation purposes. It's natural. You could actually put it on your nachos and eat it. So it's a good way of deterring people without long-term harm.
Pepper spray. It's just a harmless deterrent. You can even put it on your nachos. I do it all the time. Well, let's get to how harmless it is in a few minutes. But first, if it is so harmless, Mr. Colburn, well, why don't you demonstrate to the Fox News audience how awesome it is to get pepper sprayed and how minimal it is in actual harm? Or better yet, maybe you should put some on your nachos. Make your point for you, right? A little cheese, a little hamburger, a little pepper spray, maybe some guac. Did they actually put guac on nachos? I don't know. All I do is I put cheese on my nachos. I'm straight cheese. But I mean, come on. If it's safe, eat it. Why don't you show us how awesome it is to put it on your nachos? Actually, don't do that because it's actually not safe. Experts say that it could be very dangerous for human exposure, let alone human consumption. Now, the article says that this is from the Huffington Post. It wasn't immediately clear whether pepper spray was used in conjunction with the tear gas. Which, by the way, I don't know. All I knew is that they fired tear gas. But you definitely don't want to put that on your nachos either. You don't want to put any of that on your nachos. But nonetheless, U.S. Customs and Border Patrol did not respond to an inquiry when they asked. So this guy might have even had his gases confused. Great. Now, Sven Erik Hjort, an associate professor of anesthesiology, pharmacology, and cancer biology at the Duke University School of Medicine, says about this pepper spray and about this quote, I'm very concerned that Mr. Colburn has misrepresented the potential harms from pepper spray and tear gas. He said, yes, the burning, painful ingredient in pepper spray, capsaicin, is of natural origin distilled from chili peppers. However, capsaicin is used at several thousand-fold higher concentrations in the spray. It would never be used at these concentrations on food. So maybe you feel like really watered it down, maybe you could put it on your food. Maybe. But that wouldn't be a good idea either way. Now, he also says that at high concentrations, capsaicin is especially dangerous for children because of their small lungs. Obvious. The elderly and people with respiratory diseases such as asthma, bronchitis, and the common cold. So those people are at risk. Now, part of that risk comes from the fact that pepper spray swells up your throat, along with, of course, giving you temporary blindness and the famous burning sensation in your eyes, nose, and mouth. Now, that sensation, of course, is supposed to deter people, but the swelling of the throat could actually end up being lethal in some circumstances. In fact, there are some studies that show that certain situations involving pepper spray can result in severe effects. For example, if a person has an allergy to any of the ingredients in the pepper spray, has asthma, or has a pre-existing heart condition, then the effects of pepper spray may be more severe and in some cases may lead to death. And of course, there are instances of inmates in prison, for example, being pepper sprayed that ended up dying. So no, we're not going to use it on nachos. It's not a good idea. It's not perfectly safe, and you should not use it on your food. And you know what else you shouldn't use it on? Peaceful protesters and asylum seekers. And neither should tear gas, by the way. Tear gas is actually banned from the battlefield because it's considered a chemical weapon. And look, the other reason, of course, is, well, you can't tell if it's an actual chemical weapon that's being used on the battlefield, so we're just going to save it for domestic use. Lovely. But look, the whole conversation on Fox News is devoid of facts, as it should be, because the whole purpose is geared to minimize what is actually a massive human rights violation that just happened on our southern border. It is indefensible what has happened, going after young women, children, gassing them with, tear gas. And I don't know if they used pepper spray or not. Maybe they did, maybe they didn't. But nonetheless, Fox is going to go and defend this situation because at the end of the day, look, they know who butters your bread, right? They know the president himself is watching. They know it. And they also know that their base is hordes of angry white people that look for any excuse to hurt brown people, people who look differently than them, because of all the fear-mongering done by places like Fox News. It is a vicious cycle of fear, anger, hatred, which leads to tremendous ratings for Fox News. But it also leads to tragedies like what we see every day on the border against people of color, against Latinos, against black people, against immigrants, against migrants, and against anybody who is not straight, white, Christian, and most likely a man. That's what it's all about, folks. Hey guys, hopefully you enjoyed that free video. Now I'm going to have to ask you a favor. Between the demonetization and the YouTube algorithm messing around with view counts, etc., we're having a hard time adjusting to the new YouTube reality, which is where you guys come in. See, we have a Patreon, patreon.com/TYTNation, set up to help us rely on you guys, the viewers, instead of big corporate ads. Look, you know the show. You know how I'm not in favor of big corporations anyway. So help us transition away from relying on the ad model to pay the bills and sign up to be a patron, patreon.com/TYTNation. That goes a long way to help us keep the lights on. And you guys will know that you're supporting independent, progressive media.